Hello, welcome back. It's me, Kiran, your favorite booktuber, and today we're here to do my February wrap-up. February was a short month, a bleak month, but looking back historically, that does track. I was laid off, then I got the flu, then there was that explosive live stream, and then it was fashion month, and here we are. From maybe a combination of those things, I didn't really do a lot of reading, so this was not a good reading month for me. I only finished 4 things, so let's just dive right into it. First and foremost, The Fellowship of the Rings by Tolkien. I read this with a few other members from Kiran's Discord and the bleak community, and it was a lot of fun to talk with them about this book. But basically, The Fellowship of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, is very iconic, and The Fellowship was an interesting experience. It was technically a reread for me because I did read it as a young one. And in The Fellowship, we have our cast of characters: Strider, Merry, Pippin, Frodo, Sam, Boromir, Legolas, and the dwarf. No, is he a dwarf? What are they called? Gimli? Gimli. Okay, so we have all those guys and Gandalf. They've come together because they gotta get rid of the ring. They're embarking on a fellowship, on a trip. But really what happens is that there's a lot of singing and storytelling, which is very cute, but the singing is quite excessive. And I did this predominantly on audio, which was a wonderful experience because they just brought to life everything. And I do have to say that I think that the film is quite strong. It kind of cuts out some of that singing, but there's just such wonderful world building in this book and really taking your time. That's Lord of the Rings, which is basically the story of a bunch of guys who are going on a walk to get rid of a ring. Then we have a collection of poetry, lunch poems by Frank O'Hara. There weren't that many poems, but I would have to say that some of them obviously, understandably, stood out to me more than others. The tone is very breezy, light, their observations, the idea being that the author wrote these during his lunch hours. They're rooted very much so on New York, on figures in pop culture, his friends, observations. There's this desire for personal connection. And I don't know, almost like a whimsy, or just not exactly whimsy, but there is something like a levity to the poems. Then, because I needed a pick-me-up, I needed to just be cozy and in the vibes, I read Legends and Lattes, which is a cozy fantasy. And this tells a story of an orc who decides that she's done killing and hunting and being all rough, and she wants to settle down. She needs a change of pace, so she moves into a new town and she decides that she's going to open a coffee shop because coffee is something that's very it's not common, it's not well known. So she's like, okay, what do I gotta do? I gotta find a place. She finds a place. She's like, I gotta find a contractor. So she finds this guy, and they're looking at plans, and then she needs someone to help her run the day-to-day shop. And it's chill, very low stakes. There's basically no stakes. I thought that the most redeeming aspect of this book was this character called Thimble, who's this little tiny cute little mouse who is a genius master chef and introduces the world to cinnamon buns and croissants and I don't know, some weird biscuit thing that you dip into tea, lattes. This character was so cute. I wanted more of him, and turns out that we're gonna get a sequel in this world, if you would, called Bookshops and something. It's coming. Stay tuned. Okay, then the final thing that I finished up was the writer's chapbook by the Paris Review. So this isn't really a novel. It's not a novel. It's just each chapter is divided into different categories, such as what's your writing process? Do you believe in procrastination? What is fiction to you? Where is the novel going to take us in the future? What does nonfiction writing mean to you? Things like these, and a bunch of very well-known, prominent authors did their little interviews, and whoever compiled this pulled the most compelling quotes, put it together. I found some stuff that I really liked. Let's see, let me read some of them. Page 37, 38. So this is from William Kennedy. I think the question was, why do you write? And this was by William Kennedy. I used to say on Thursday afternoons when I was on my day off from the Albany Times Union and waiting for the muse to descend and discovering that it was the muse's day off too, you have to beat the bastards. I didn't even know who the bastards were, but you have to beat somebody. You have to beat your own problematic imagination to discover what it is you're saying and how to say it and move forward into the unknown. I always knew that A, I wanted to be a writer, and B, if you persist in doing something, that sooner or later you will achieve it. It's just a matter of persistence and a certain amount of talent. You can't do anything without talent, but you can't do anything without persistence either. He continues, Bello and I once talked about that. We were talking in general about writing and publishing and so on, and he said there's a certain amount of talent that's necessary. All sort of people are out there with no talent, trying very hard, and nothing comes of it. You must have some kind of talent, but after that, it's character. I said, what do you mean by character? And he smiled at me and never said anything. So I was left for the rest of my life to define what he meant by that. What I concluded was that character was equivalent to persistence. And then it goes on. So there's things like that. Then what else? Let me find something else because that one's hecka long. This was page 66, Don DeLillo. A writer takes earnest measures to secure his solitude and then finds endless ways to squander it. Looking out the window, reading random entries in the dictionary. Then on page 318 by Mary Lee Settle. Anyone who has a choice and doesn't choose not to write is a fool. Don't people know that it's the hardest work in the world? So it's full of things like that. I just plucked out a few that stood out to me just now. And it's a fun read. I don't know, it's not something you really read in one sitting. You gotta just pick it up and read a little, dabble, and then set it down. That was my February reading. I know I had started with quite a ambitious, excited TBR, but life happened. I didn't read as much, but March, I've already finished 5 things. Things are happening, things are moving, and that's that. I'd love to know what you read, what's going on, what's happening, and I'll see you later.